In this video, I will cover what has changed with F3 features in the most recent versions of Minecraft, including the new customizable debug screen and the pie chart. This is mostly aimed at players who have some familiarity with the F3 menu already, especially from speedrunning, and want to get into draftout, but aren't used to the newer version shenanigans. Hopefully though, anyone can still learn a few things from this video. This is based both on my experience as well as the 26.2 AA guide made by the people on the screen right now and the Minecraft wiki. If you have any questions or important things to add, feel free to comment down below. Starting off, now Minecraft has keybinds for a lot of F3 related things, including the debug menu itself, as well as the key used for F3 combinations. This means you don't need to rebind F3 with an external program to another key, and also means you can have separate keys for opening the menu and for the shortcuts. You can also change or disable the second part of all the shortcuts. So if you're always pressing F3 plus T on accident, for example, you can just disable that right here. As a side note, the F3 plus F shortcut to raise and lower render distance has been removed for a few versions now. And the only way to adjust render is on your video settings. Still on the topic of keybinds, if you go on accessibility settings, you can turn off the narrator hotkey, which is very common to press on accident, especially in draftout where the default open board key is B. The next thing I'll talk about is the pie chart. To open it, you press the combination F3 plus 1 by default, but it can be changed as I discussed in the last section. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. In 1.16, the pie chart scaled only for monitor resolution. Now, however, it also scales with GUI. This is what it looks like on GUI 4 on a 1080p monitor. Numbers are very readable, but it does cover almost half of the screen. Besides the vision, another downside is that you might not be able to see all the entries on the entities directory. So keep that in mind if you're a GUI 4 user. Moving on, the directories are slightly different from 1.16 as well. To access the regular pirate directory, you go to tick, then directly to block entities. This will let you scan for mob spawners, if you're trying to find a fort in the nether, as well as trial spawners, if you need trial chambers in the overworld. You can also find igloos with a basement if you see a sign in your pie chart. Now, pirating works differently here, because Mojang changed chunk loading to be a circle rather than a square. I won't go into specifics in this video, but you can check out Andronica's explanation, as well as the method to pirate accurately in the pinned comment below. Also leave a like while you're at it. Another useful directory is entities. You may want to use it in the overall to scan for things like wolves and foxes, which tend to be hard to spot in their biomes. Another important use case for finding bastions. In this version, E-ray mostly works. However, if a bastion is through a wall, your entities will likely be called, and E-ray won't help you. So, to find the direction and rough distance of a bastion, you need to scan for piglin brutes. The last relevant directory is the mapless one. For this, you navigate to Frame, Extract, and Level. Then you look at the block entities value. You rarely come across a situation where you need to do mapless buried treasure in this version, but this can be useful in case of a missed dig down to a trial chamber, for example. You can also use it for preemptive and strongholds. Those spikes are obviously very different from 1.16. Finally, and possibly the most important part, is the new customizable debug screen. By pressing F3 plus F6, you access this menu, which lets you enable different parts of the F3 screen. A lot of people have been struggling with what information to keep, so here I'll show the important stuff you should have, as well as two different possible layouts. First thing you want is your biome. This shows the current biome you're on. It's important especially when you're underground or in the nether, but it's generally useful, like, no matter what. Next off is chunk generation stats. Now, this displays world generation values. The most important ones to look at are E, which stands for erosion, right here, and is used to find ancient cities, which happen when this value is negative 0.375 or lower. There's V, which stands for vegetation or humidity, used to find lush caves that occur at values of 0.7 and higher. And C, which stands for continentalness, and can be used to locate dripstone caves when the value is 0.8 or higher. Now, this is kind of weird because it does have niche but very useful information, but it also clutters a lot of the screen. So I recommend only turning it on when you need one of those biomes. Next, we have chunk render stats. This is the C counter. It displays chunk sections which tell you where there's terrain or AR chunks. It's very useful in the nether or when you're underground looking for caves. Next is entity render stats, which is the E counter. It displays the amount of entities in the direction you're looking and the total loaded. Used for E-ray in a few situations, especially for bastions. Entity spawn counts displays extra information about loaded entities. The M and C values are especially useful as another way to tell if there's a bastion or not by adding them up and comparing the result with the amount of total entities. If the number is very similar, there isn't a bastion. Or if there is at least 20 or 30 more total entities, you can tell a bastion is loaded. Next is FPS, which is self-explanatory. This is not really needed, but it's nice to have. Then you have height map, which displays the highest block in your current coordinate. It's very important when underground and trying to get up to the surface. Local difficulty, self-explanatory. It's not really useful at all, but what it does for me is it pushes the E counter to right under the C counter for a better layout. Looking at block state displays target block information and coordinates. Player position displays the player coordinates, chunk coordinates, as well as facing direction and angle. And finally, player section position displays your sub-chunk coordinates. This is used for mining the right block for buried treasures and the stronghold starter staircase. This is what your layout should look like. As you can see, coordinates are on the opposite side of the screen compared to other versions, but you can use the targeted block coordinates if you wish, since they are still on the left. Now, if you wish to have a layout as similar as possible to 1.16, what you can do is turn off height map as well as looking at block state. This is what it looks like. This does lose you some necessary information, as I've discussed the benefits of height map, and also targeted block is necessary if you're trying to go up to the nether roof, for example. Therefore, I don't recommend this layout, but it is still usable if you so wish. Anyways, that's all for me. Be sure to comment if this video was helpful in any way, or if you still have any questions. Also, go play draftout. It's super fun.